Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial video. And in today's video we're going to be looking at drawing our anime and manga characters stretching. So basically just want to do this just so we can kind of see the difference between a character that's just sort of relaxed and sitting there or laying there as opposed to a character stretched out, seeing how it affects the body composition, the overall flow of our character, just seeing the little differences. So first I'm just putting in super simple head here, nothing crazy, like so. Then for the arms though, for the shoulders here, what I'll do is for the collar I'll have them angled nice and high, just because our character is going to have her hands stretching up above her head. So this is going to be, we'll add her neck. The traps are going to come up higher than what they normally would on our character who's just resting normally like that, because they're pulling the shoulders up. So then we can put these shoulders just above the collar line like so. Then we can add our rib cage. It's just kind of this oval with the base of the ribs. Then the pits. So the pits we'll bring in a little bit like so. And then coming to the back of the shoulder, a second line, and that's our lats. So we'll add those. From there we can straighten this line out a little bit more. From there we might as well do the hips. Trying to just get a little center line here, keeping them rather even with our shoulders so our character's nice and curvy. Add this in here like so. Then get these balanced. Trying to keep these hips symmetrical here. I want them slightly pointed but not sharp looking. So kind of a soft point here when they curve. Like so. Then we'll have her legs just kind of down here in a neutral position. So I'm envisioning that she's like laying on her back, stretching out. Maybe she just woke up and is trying to get loosened up. So for this inner thigh, we'll kind of bring it in before we poke it back out. So it kind of sucks in, comes out, swoops in. And I like to follow that inside thigh line right to the knees. So we'll draw a little half moon shape like that. Then we'll draw in our thighs, keeping them nice and thick right up about at the top before we bring it back in. We'll give this character some pretty thick thighs, because why not? There we go. Shrink this one down a little bit so they're a little more even. From there, we'll add a very slightly concave line here for the shins, just on this inside portion. Then we can have a nice little bump for our calf. And what I like to do to get that is I like to start by swooping it like that. So I bring it in, pop it out for the calf, and then I swoop it and taper it to the ankle. And just work with it till you get the flow and shape that you like in our construction portion. Doesn't have to look pretty right now. So we'll do that. Super simple feet here, just as placeholders, since they're not, it's not going to be helpful to our stretching steady to draw super nice feet. So we'll just do some placeholders there. We'll tuck in some glutes right behind those thighs here. Alright, so from there, what we can do is we'll follow the ribs down a little bit, kind of in a line towards where our hip bone sort of ends right here, right? So we'll kind of stretch it towards there, and then from there we'll keep a relatively neutral looking hourglass figure, because since our character is stretching way out, we don't want him to have a super compressed, hourglass figure, but instead all their sides are stretching out, and so it's just going to be a little bit gentler of a curve. It's not going to be such an aggressive curve. So we'll do that. Add the belly, like so. Then we'll, beneath this pit line, add our chest. Just kind of poke it out to the side. She's laying on her back, so her chest will spill over a little bit. Kind of keeping them below this little breast line here. Just kind of in this place where the pits are. Okay, so for me, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. I want to show you guys like a full body stretching here. So now what we'll do is we'll put in our arms. Kind of bend them just a little bit so they're not just straight up and down, like so. So from there, what we can do is we can follow this pit line, and that will connect to the bicep pretty much, just like this. Then we can put in the tricep and the bottom portion of our arm, like so. Kind of bring these lats out a little bit, just so they're a little bit more visible. We'll put in the shoulder there. And keeping these nice and round, like keeping them bulging around, because they're contracting to pull her arm up. So her shoulder is going to be quite round compared to normally how we try to keep them a little bit round, but trying to keep them discreet and dainty looking. Over here, add in our forearm. Kind of straighten this bicep line out a little bit. We don't want her to have bulging forearms here. We'll do this. And then super simple hand placeholder here. Like so. There we go. Try to keep these ears a little bit symmetrical. Not super ultra helpful for this tutorial, so I'm not going to spend lots of time on the facial expression here, but have her arm up. We can add some little lines here to show that there's some strain, she's stretching. Like so. Then I'll just enlarge her a little bit so she fills my page a bit more. Like so. And now I'll just quick do some line art here. Not too concerned about the quality of the lines, so I'm just going to work on one layer here. Get these in, just so we can kind of go over what we've done, and so there's some easier lines for you guys to follow. The construction lines can get messy sometimes, so from here what I'll do is I'll go to the bicep, follow the forearm, like so, and then for this I'll kind of bump it into that little pocket in the pit And then I'll give some nice rounded shoulders here that connect to our collar. There. Same thing over here. Do this. Give her some thick traps there because they're holding the arms up. Then we'll add in our chest, just kind of popping out over the side. Then we can add our lat. Don't want it to be super rounded, then it looks like she's working out. Just kind of want a neutral angle there. Then we'll draw our sides, which are nice and stretched, so they're not going to be a super exaggerated hourglass shape, but instead just kind of elongate our normal shape and keep it a little bit smoother, like so. Do this. Like that. And then we can draw in our thighs, following that inside thigh for the knees as well, just kind of swooping them in. Keeping the thighs at their thickest, kind of in this area. And we'll bring this in. I want this a little bit perkier. Just slightly concave line. You don't want it straight up and down, but you also don't want it super exaggerated either. Then we'll do this. Add our ankles. Just some little bumps. Super simple feet there, just as placeholders. Barely see the glutes. Add in our little belly lines, like so. Oh yeah, and then we've got our hand placeholders. Nothing crazy. I do have a hand and foot tutorial out, so if you guys want to see how to actually draw the hands and feet, then you can go and watch that. But for this, there's no reason to do super detailed hands and feet. So I'll do that. Alright. That should do it. So again, we've kind of looked at some basic stretches before for some of our posing, but this is just to further show, you know, when the character's all stretched out, they're gonna, all of this midsection here is going to be a lot smoother than what we're used to. Like we typically draw them with, you know, quite the pinched figure, you know, to further accentuate that hourglass shape. But for this, you still want to keep that sort of taper going, but you just don't want it to be overly exaggerated. We want to keep it smooth and stretched out. And then for the shoulder line here, you know, the traps are going to be a little bit thicker just because they're pulling the shoulders up. The shoulders will be a little bit more rounded because they're holding the arms up. And in this pose, we'll see a little bit of the lats. We don't want the lats to be too terribly big, so you could almost follow the rib line with it. So there would be a little bit of a difference there because the rib would be shaped like this, coming into the area down here, this little taper, and then the lat would kind of just poke out a little bit from there. So just mess with it till you get the balance the way that you want it, and just try to keep in mind the stretching and the areas where the muscles are contracted and pulling each other up. So that'll do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.